All right. Let's meet a new lineup real quick. Kind of quiet, I feel like. Hold on. Oh god, a wave link. Do we have weird here? I think we have weird here. Let's think of something we don't have. I think we have all these guys. I think weirder is the one I'm unsure about. Oh yeah, that's pretty quiet. How's 60% doing? Rough skin. You don't have an item on though, right? The box. Is that where I need to go? Here we go. We do have items. What's wrong with you? No taunt. Okay. I guess let's just jump into it. Yeah, it's just randomized. I should have honestly watched the videos. Does Beedrill make sense? Do I need a Beedrill? Let's go. Go rock slide. Yes, he flinched. Yeah, let's just do this again. Yes, again! Alright, last one. And he burned. And just hit him for... There wasn't much of a plan. Just overpowered, huh? I'm gonna go edit team. Is this a better team? Might be a better team. Yeah, let's try this. Yeah, okay. Like, what do we have on? Might start with Basket Weekend. Might just go Ice Beam. Gambit might die this turn anyway. Okay. Both against ice. Oh, okay, one-shotted. I'm assuming the first few are just bot games, because maybe too easy at this point. Let's go back real quick. Oh, is this how I get some stuff? Sure. I don't think I'll use Mega Garchomp, but like... I'll get the Choice Star. Is it over here? Okay, fine, because it gives us a bunch of stuff. And blast. Okay, choose Snorlax. Oh, that's it? Okay. Oh. These are different ones. Alright. Fake out is pretty common. Lowers attack spell attack. Then switches about replaced by another party punch. Special attack. And a parting shot. Intimidate. Protect. Service mech switches out of battle. Okay, these are specials. Really? Okay. Like a new day. 8 o'clock. Okay. Let's start off. Ooh, okay. Clearly should have been normal attack. Huh? It won't be ice, right? Snowing. Maybe we're near fun. I ran the time. Does it change my speed? Maybe I should have. Should have Giga Drain last turn. Alright, Throw Shot does not priority. I thought it did for some reason. Ooh. Was not expecting for Godzilla to be faster than a deer. All right. I want to change my style if I can. Have other... Not really. Okay, we don't have like anything. Sense, clothing. These all suck. Alright, so alright, that's it. Torque for offering. Okay. Start with you. I think that first actual person. Steel type elite four member. You don't have steel types, I think. Let's go. Alright, Blastoise is mega evolving. goes first? Oh, Trick Room. Why? I really don't think Beedrill and Warder are worth it. Gonna definitely go slower. I don't think I'll survive, honestly. And I think Blastoise is slower than me. Oh, Sylveon's the slowest. What's the throat chop status? Is that just for singing thing? I thought it was like a flinch. I don't know if Weird or Beedrill are good enough, but like, I don't know what is. No, don't continue. Okay, yeah, it's not really worth changing anything on that one, huh? Hydro Pump. Thunderbolt. Will-O-Wisp. What calm? $15. 19. No Incineroar? Okay, so I don't have more of those. Can I buy more? Just a one berry? Alright, let's try it. Definitely feel like I need to get more Pokemon in here. I feel like a Abomasnow would not be a great choice. Wismacott. Use a rock type moves 5 times. I'm still just unsure. No, I know I'm unsure about this team. Like, we definitely need to get some other mons in here. We need to get some other items. I think Garchomp and Rotom are fine. But the back half. Sneasler. I didn't get to use them, so I guess not fair to say that about Sneasler, but I don't know. We've done Weirder a few times. Weirder is not making the cut. I feel like, boy, we do get them out. But Incineroar and Rotom use the same item, which is Not helpful for me. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. We'll be right back though.
Starting with, what is Pokemon Champions? Pokemon Champions is a new Pokemon game centered around battling, and will be the home of competitive play moving forward. It lowers the barrier to entry of competitive play by a massive amount, with the intent of bringing battling to even more people. There's currently a Switch and Switch 2 version out right now, and a mobile version has been announced for later this year. The main currency in this game is something called VP. You cannot obtain VP via microtransactions, but you get plenty of VP just for playing the game, so this isn't a huge issue. If you're not familiar, by the way, hello, my name is Wolf. I am a competitive Pokemon player and have been since 2011, and I've been making videos here on YouTube about competitive play for over a decade at this point, with the goal of bringing more people into the game. I've entered tournaments for many years and have even won the Pokemon World Championships. I'm posting a new video every single day until April ends to celebrate Pokemon Champions release, so if you like that, you should subscribe, or at least come back tomorrow, because there'll be another video. Anyway, let's talk about the details of Pokemon Champions, starting with recruitment. Recruitment is the new terminology used for how you get Pokemon in this game, since you're not going out and catching them in Pokeballs like you would in a normal Pokemon game. In Pokemon Champions, there are two ways you can get Pokemon. You can either recruit them from a pre-selected pool of 10 Pokemon that refreshes every day, or you can transfer them in from Pokemon Home. Every 22 hours, you'll be able to refresh the pool of Pokemon offered to you via the recruitment feature. The pool contains 10 different Pokemon with variable stats, moves, and abilities. These Pokemon will always have 2 of their stats fully trained and the remaining 2 points put into another stat, but the way that these Pokemon are trained is not always optimal. If you don't want to wait the full 22 hours to recruit a new Pokemon, well, you have some options. You can use Quick Coupons, which is a currency specifically for this reason, to speed up the process. 1 Quick Coupon reduces the time until refresh by 1 hour. You can also pay VP to do this immediately. It costs 100 VP per Quick Coupon, so 2200 VP for a full reset. When you go to recruit a Pokemon, you have 2 options. The first is something called a trial recruitment. This is free and doesn't cost any VP. Trial recruitments will last for 7 days, and the Pokemon cannot be retrained or have their moves changed during this time. Pokemon can be upgraded to permanent recruits whenever you want during this period, and that's the other option that you have, which is to permanently recruit a Pokemon. This costs 2500 VP or 1 teammate ticket. This allows you to keep the Pokemon forever, and you can retrain it however you wish. Retraining comes with an associated cost, which we'll talk about in a second. You are allowed to recruit multiple instances of the same Pokemon species if you would like. This can be useful for having several teams, or if you want to use both the Mega version of a Pokemon and the non-Mega version of a Pokemon, who may prefer different sets. One tip that I have for you when it comes to permanent recruitment is to think about how often you intend to use the Pokemon that you're recruiting, as well as to think about how easy it is for you to get the Pokemon if you decide to pass on it right now. For example, if you don't have Scarlet or Violet and Earthworm were offered, maybe you would consider taking it. Whereas if you do have Scarlet and Violet, maybe you wouldn't use a permanent recruitment for that because you could just go out and catch an Earthworm and Scarlet and transfer it in. We'll talk about that in a second, I'm getting ahead of myself. Pokemon that you find in recruitment can be shiny. There will be a special animation in the lineup if a Pokemon is shiny or has a mark, so you'll be able to tell. Pokemon recruited or otherwise obtained through gifts in Pokemon Champions cannot be transferred to Pokemon Home. This is only true of Pokemon that you obtain through Pokemon Champions, not for Pokemon that you bring in and then want to take out again. Okay, speaking of bringing Pokemon in and taking them out, let's talk about Pokemon Home. You are able to bring Pokemon from Pokemon Home into Pokemon Champion, and in my opinion, this is the best way of getting Pokemon into this game. Transferring a Pokemon in doesn't cost any VP, and stats, moves, and abilities will transfer over. If you want to do this, it's actually relatively straightforward. First, you want to select Pokemon Champions in the Pokemon Home app. Pokemon transferred in only visit from home. They will actually remain in Pokemon Home even when they are present in Pokemon Champions, but they can't be altered or moved in Pokemon Home while they are visiting Champions. Pokemon keep their previous training when they're transferred to Champions, but they can be altered in Champions without affecting the Pokemon in Home. There is no cooldown or cost to importing Pokemon from Pokemon Home, but they do take up a box space. If you don't want to spend any real-life dollars, you will only have 30 box spaces, so you need to be intentional about how you use these. If you get the starter pack, this 30 limit upgrades to 80, and if you get the membership, it goes to 1,000. These do not scale linearly. Like I said, transferring a Pokemon from Pokemon Home is probably the best and quickest way to get a Pokemon easily, especially because it doesn't cost any VP. So if you've been playing the other games, you already have a leg up when it comes to Champions. Just like with recruitment, you can have multiple of the same species of Pokemon transferred in from Pokemon Home. So you could have a fast Incineroar and a slow Incineroar and even a medium Incineroar. In Pokemon Champions, you can train Pokemon however you want using either VP or a training ticket. Raising a Pokemon stat point costs 5 VP per point for a total of 330 VP to fully train a Pokemon. Changing a Pokemon's nature costs 500 VP. Changing its ability also costs 500 VP, and changing a move costs 250 VP. To change all 4 moves, that's 1000 VP. Training in Pokemon Champions appears to be somewhat opposite to how it has been in previous games, where training in Pokemon stats was the most tedious aspect and changing the moves was often the easiest, whereas in Pokemon Champions, changing a move is actually the most costly. This is why Pokemon Home can be so big, because you can bring Pokemon in that already have the right ability and moves that you caught in other games that were relatively easy to get. You get 500 VP and 24 quick coupons daily as long as you log in, recruit a Pokemon, and do 1 ranked battle, regardless of whether you win or lose. There's also weekly missions which award lots of VP and quick coupons. Various objectives including winning ranked battles, using moves of certain types, using super effective moves, landing critical hits, and more are all potential mission objectives. Some missions, for example type-based ones, can be re-rolled for free. So if you don't have any grass-type Pokemon, you have a grass-type mission, you may be able to just get rid of that and get something else instead. Starter missions award quick coupons and VP. These are basic tasks like reaching Great Ball tier, changing your outfit, or even just winning a casual battle. Membership gives you exclusive missions that award teammate tickets or training tickets. Replica teams. This is different than it's been in past games. In the past, replica teams were a rental team, and the way it worked is if you shared a rental team online, anybody who entered the code would be able to use that team in battle. Replica teams are unfortunately different and not necessarily in a positive way. Replica teams require you to train the Pokemon to match the team. It requires you to have all 6 Pokemon and the items before you can train the Pokemon to match. It is a convenient way to get a team quickly, but it does still consume resources, unlike rental teams in previous games. Trading for all 6 of the Pokemon will happen at one time with one button press. You get 3 battle team slots without membership or 18 with it. That's 18 total, not 18 new. There's 4 different types of battles. The one that'll be most popular is ranked. The ranked ladder lets you obtain VP after matches. You'll be matched against players with a similar ranking on the ladder. You rank up from Pokeball tier all the way to Champion tier. This is a new tier that's after Master Ball. How much VP you earn depends on whether you win or lose. It also depends on some other factors such as what tier you are in. Ranked battles are the default and encouraged way to play Pokemon Champions. The tiers are the beginner tier, which is the tutorial tier, then Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, Master Ball, and finally Champion tier. Each tier has 4 stages, starting at 4 and ending at 1. So you go from Pokeball 4 to Pokeball 3 to 2 to 1, and then you go to Great Ball 4, so on and so forth. The next battling style is casual battles. These are functionally identical to ranked battles, just with no VP rewards and also no ranked ladder. They are a good way to play if you are worried about losing ranking points or if you just want to test an idea out on the ladder. The third form of battles is private battles. In these, you select a preferred format and you battle against your friends. It's worth noting that even in private battles, the 6v6 single game mode is not currently available. The fourth battle mode is online competitions. These are online ladder style competitions where everybody starts out at the same rank and then you see who can get the highest on the ladder within a set time period. If you know what the grand challenges or global challenges are from Scarlet and Violet, that's where these will be. All forms of battle can be either single or double battles. Double battles are the official competitive format and the format that I personally specialize in. Single battles are the 3v3 format instead, so you bring 6 Pokemon to a battle and pick 3. There's currently no way to play 6v6 single battles in Pokemon Champions. All items in the in-game shop are purchased with VP. There are no microtransactions. If you're interested in playing competitively, the majority of things you'll be purchasing from the shop are the held items, including the Mega Stones. The selection of items that are in the game at launch is actually very small. We have reason to believe that this will be expanded over time, though how quickly it's difficult to say. In the meantime, you'll want to stock up on staple items though. Berries cost 400 VP, held items are variable as of launch, but typically range between 700 and 1000 VP. Megastones are 2000 VP each. Clothing items, cosmetics, throwing styles, and victory poses are all variable. And the battle music is 5000 VP, and features music from all previous mainline games. Currently, there are 3 main packages offered to players who want to spend money. The starter pack costs $6.99 and gives you 50 training tickets, 30 teammate tickets, and gives you the music from the trainer battle from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I think if you want to spend money, this is a pretty good deal. It's a one-time purchase, it's $7 only. The 50 extra box spaces are nice, and the 50 training tickets can save you a bunch of time, especially if you don't have a previous Pokemon game to transfer in. The next option is the Battle Pass, which costs $9.99 each season. This is the premium version of the standard Battle Pass. You earn SP from these, which are season points, for doing ranked battles and missions. The Battle Pass resets each season with new rewards. They award Mega Stones, teammate tickets, training tickets, quick coupons, Pokemon, and profile cosmetics. It's difficult for me to judge right now whether the Battle Pass is worth it in my opinion. I think it probably depends on your situation. For example, I have many of the previous Pokemon games, so the Pokemon offered through the Battle Pass is not really an especially appealing factor for me, but if you haven't played those games and you don't have access to those Pokemon, maybe it's more worthwhile for you. I'd recommend looking at what the potential rewards are and keeping in mind that you only get the higher tiers if you actually play a lot and get up to that. The third form of monetization is membership. This costs $4.99 per month or $49.99 per year. Membership allows you to store 1,000 more Pokemon in your box. It allows you to have 15 battle teams usable at one time. It unlocks membership exclusive missions and membership exclusive battle songs. This is the priciest option, so I don't really feel comfortable telling you whether or not it's worth it because it really depends. I will be getting membership, but also I'm a Pokemon YouTuber, so my circumstances are likely different than you who is watching this. General advice, make smart financial decisions, don't spend money you don't have, you know the drill. The current rule set is called Regulation M-A, and it runs until June 16th, which is after the North American International Championships, which is the final tournament before this season's World Championships. It has a specific list of Pokemon that are allowed, and I will say it's a very unique format for a number of reasons, but in part because the item pool, at least unless they add more in, is so small. We're missing many of the classic items, such as the Assault Vest and the Choice Band and the Life Orb, and the Flame Orb and many other classic important items. This is pretty unprecedented. We've never had a Pokemon game without access to all of our held items. The following regulation is called Regulation M-B, and we don't know much about this except that it starts after Regulation M-A. This year's World Championships will be played on Regulation M-B. Now that you know how to get started with Pokemon Champions, you may be thinking, okay, how do I win? Hello, I'd like to win a game. Hello. Well, you're in luck, because the current plan is to post an introduction to competitive Pokemon, covering many of the basic concepts on April 11th, which is this Saturday as of the time I'm posting this. It may be in the past depending on when you are watching this. So if you want to learn more about competitive Pokemon and how to get started, keep your eyes out for that. If you want more content right now, Pokemon is one of the most interesting, complex, and widely misunderstood competitive games that's out there. I can say this confidently because I've been playing for over 15 years, and I've even won the Pokemon World Championships. The release of Pokemon Champions may introduce some of the biggest changes, if not the biggest changes, since I started playing. This is because the barrier to entry is now the lowest it has ever been. In the past, getting good competitive Pokemon in game required knowledge and time investment. Pokemon Champions demolishes this barrier by making getting Pokemon in game extremely easy. On top of this, Pokemon Champions is the first mainline game that you can play on your phone. I say all this because it seems to me somewhat likely that if you've clicked on this video and you're watching this intro, you may be interested in playing competitive Pokemon but might not know where to start. And that's where I come in, baby! My goal with this video is to take you through the basics of competitive Pokemon. This is by no means all-encompassing. I could talk for many hours and we still would not get through everything if that were the goal. So this video is intended to give you a survey of the landscape, give you some helpful tips and tricks, and teach you the terms so that if you want to learn more about the game, you know where you can start looking. So let's start with the most basics of all. What's competitive Pokemon? Hello, what is it? Hello. At its core, Pokemon is a turn-based competitive strategy game. The goal of the game is to knock out all 4 of your opponent's Pokemon without losing all 4 of yours first. Now, reduce opponent's health to 0 is not the most novel concept in video games, but Pokemon does have an aspect of this that is relatively unique. Team building is the aspect of choosing which Pokemon and all of the details associated with them that you want to use on your team. Choosing the right 6 Pokemon for your team is an important requirement if you want to do well. Not only do you have nearly infinite amounts of combinations between the Pokemon, but each individual Pokemon can be used in such a variety of different ways that you're able to perfectly customize your team based on your playstyle and based on your preferences. The official competitive format for Pokemon also features a regularly rotating rule set. Try saying that 3 times fast. The rule set primarily changes which Pokemon are legal, but it also will change sometimes which mechanics are legal. If you don't know what this means, don't worry about it right now. The main point is that the game doesn't really get stale, at least not very quickly, because the rules are always changing and which Pokemon are good is always changing. One of the most popular rule sets from Scarlet and Violet banned all legendary and paradox Pokemon, for example. That one really shook things up. Okay, so that's what competitive Pokemon is. Why should you play it? Short answer is it's pretty fun. And by pretty fun, I think I'm underselling it. The game is very complex, very deep, and very satisfying to try and solve. One of the things that I love the most about Pokemon is that you can always get better. If there is a skill ceiling in terms of how good somebody can get, it hasn't been found, and frankly, I don't think that anybody is close. And I say this from experience. Like, I've been playing for 15 years, I've won the Pokemon World Championships, I've actually won more tournaments than any other player in history, and I tell you this not to brag, but to tell you that I don't feel like I've reached my peak yet. And that's very exciting to be able to play a game for 15 years, try your absolute hardest, become the best in the world, and still feel like there's more to go. I think that's pretty cool. Pokemon also has a strong social aspect to it. Some of the best people I've met and some of my closest friends in my entire life are people who I've met through Pokemon. Even though this isn't a team game and tournaments are 1 player against 1 player, the fact of the matter is that Pokemon is such a difficult game that if you don't work with other people, you probably will never reach your full potential. Speaking of meeting other people, tournaments are held all over the world. I've been able to go to some really exciting places like Japan and Hawaii were some of my favorites because of Pokemon tournaments. And I have friends in countries all over the world who I only know because of Pokemon. If you love to travel and you love video games, Pokemon is a pretty decent hobby to pick up. You can also win prize money, potentially thousands of dollars or even over $10,000 from a single tournament. I don't want to emphasize this too much because while it is always really nice when you win money, I don't think that really anybody who plays because of the money. It's a nice bonus and you can use it to fund future tournaments or future travel. But if you're looking to get into a game because of like finances, I don't think this is the right one for you. Though I don't know, maybe things will change. Maybe Worlds next year will give $100 million if you win. Probably not. Okay, the last thing I want to say before we jump into the material itself is what's going to happen after this video. And I don't mean like the moon is going to blow up. Like, I mean, what are you going to do after this video, right? So I want to give you 2 different recommendations at the beginning of what you can do after, though of course there's other things that you can do as well. The first is a website called VGCguide.com.
Oh, I was muted this whole time.
That some of my best friends and I spent over a year working on. It is a free, massive written guide to everything you could need to know about competitive Pokemon. We did write it during Sword and Shield, but it was written intentionally to be evergreen, so although you may see some explicit mentions to Dynamax, all the information there should be good. The second option is more recent. In fact, it's so recent that this is where I'm debuting it. The second option is wrong. Okay, here's the deal. One of my best friends in the entire world is also one of the best Pokemon players in the entire world, and his name is Marcus Hamon. Over the last few months, Marcus and I have been working on a full paid course to introduce you to the basics and intermediate concepts to get into competitive Pokemon. The course features 8 different lectures on different topics in competitive Pokemon and releases 1 lecture every single week until it's over. It's not super fancy editing, but it is nice PowerPoint graphics that will hopefully make it easy to follow. We also plan to feature quizzes for each lecture so you can review and make sure that you actually understand the topic. This was all the original plan. Originally, we wanted to partner with one of those course hosting websites, and we thought that with the amount of work that we were putting in, $20 was a fair asking price. For something close to 4 hours of instructional content from 2 veterans in the game felt like a reasonable ask. However, Marcus and I thought about this, and we realized that we could do something that's cheaper for you all while also giving you better value, and that's to host this course instead on the Wolfie VGC Patreon. The videos will all be available at the second tier, which costs $10 per month, but if you wait to join until the course is already finished, then you can get all 8 videos for just $10, which is a good deal for people who are more on a budget. Plus, the Patreon has tons of extra content that is tertiary to helping you get better. Every month, they talk about a different high-level concept, which is also content you can't currently get really anywhere else. Also, if you were already a member of the Patreon, this is just a thank you for your support. Again, the main core of the important information can be found for free on VGC.
But didn't you say it was wrong?
I'm not trying to keep getting better at competitive Pokemon, but if you prefer a visual style or you want something that is a little bit more updated for champions, this is my recommendation. Anyway, with all that being said, let's jump into the actual material itself. To start, let's cover the very basics. If you've played a mainline Pokemon game before, you're going to be familiar with many of these. Feel free to go ahead and skip to the next chapter if you don't need a refresher. Okay, so how does a Pokemon battle actually work? The official competitive format uses double battles, meaning you have 2 Pokemon on the field at a time against your opponent's 2 Pokemon. Even though you will have 6 Pokemon in your party, you only select 4 of them each match. In a Pokemon battle, both players will send out 2 Pokemon to start. They'll also have 2 Pokemon in the back that they can switch into. You pick your moves at the same time as your opponent. Once both you and your opponent have selected a move for each of your Pokemon, the turn will play out. Moves are resolved from fastest to slowest based on a Pokemon's speed stat, though there are many exceptions to this. You're also allowed to switch to any Pokemon that you have in the back of your team, but unlike the single-player campaign mode, you cannot use any items from your bag. So no revives, no hyper potions, no full heals. Now each Pokemon has 1 to 2 types. These are your fire, water, grasses. Each type has strengths and weaknesses. This is the full type chart. I know it seems overwhelming, you really don't need to memorize this. You should still eventually learn the type chart because while the game will show you how effective your move is against your current target, maybe you want to think about what will happen if your opponent switches out. The way that types work generally is each Pokemon has 1 to 2 types, and each move has only 1 type. There is an exception, don't worry about it, okay? It doesn't matter. Moves will do more damage if they are especially effective against a defending Pokemon, and they will do less damage if they are not effective. If a water-type Pokemon attacks a fire type, that move will deal double damage. If it attacks a grass type, it will do half damage. These multipliers can stack and cancel each other out. If a water type attacks a fire and rock type Pokemon, the move will do quadruple damage because both fire and rock are weak to water. If a water type attack goes into a grass and water type Pokemon, that move will only do a quarter of the damage because both grass and water resist water. If you use a water type attack against a fire and grass type Pokemon, that move will do neutral damage. The type chart seems like a lot at first, but the more you play, the more easy it becomes to understand intuitively. Let's talk about stats. Each Pokemon has 6 stats, which are HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. When your HP hits 0, your Pokemon is knocked out and can no longer battle. Your attack and special attack stats are your offensive stats. Even though every Pokemon has both an attack and a special attack stat, the vast majority of them will only effectively make use of one of those, whichever is higher is the typical rule, though there are some exceptions. The community classifies most Pokemon as physical attackers or special attackers depending on which attacking stat they prefer. Damage is done calculating the user's attack stat, whether that be physical or special attack. If your Pokemon uses a physical attack, damage is calculated with the user's attack stat and the defender's defense stat. If the user instead uses a special attack, damage is calculated with the user's special attack stat and the defender's special defense stat. So if your Pokemon has a really high physical defense stat but takes a special attack, your physical defense does not matter. Most of the time. Yes, there are exceptions. It's not the point, okay? The final stat is speed. Speed is arguably the most important stat in the game as it determines the order in which Pokemon move. Unlike the other stats, speed only matters if you're faster or slower. It doesn't matter how much faster or how much slower you are. If your Pokemon is 1 point faster than your opponent's Pokemon, this term will play out the same way even if they were 100 points faster. For this reason, speed is also seen as the most complex stat. Every Pokemon within a species shares the same base stats. These are Charizard's base stats. Every single Charizard in every single game shares these base stats. However, Charizard's actual stats can vary. This is because you're able to influence the stats of your Pokemon. Your base stats determine your Pokemon's starting stats. How you train the Pokemon from there, though, is up to you. If you are curious, at level 50, which is where the official competitive format battles take place, a Pokemon's starting stats are its base stats plus 20. So Charizard, who has 100 base speed, if you don't give it any training, will have a speed stat of 120, assuming the nature doesn't interfere. The exception to this is HP, which for some reason is your base stat plus 75. We'll talk more about stats later. Every Pokemon is between 1 to 3 abilities. Abilities do a bunch of different things. Some can give your Pokemon a stat boost, some can lower your opponent's stats, some can set field conditions, some can heal you, some can heal your partner, some can cause you to lose HP. They basically do everything. Abilities are really important in competitive play. Every Pokemon has between 1 and 3 abilities that they can choose from. They cannot use an ability except for the ones that they are born with. And abilities are often
Well,
allow
you change
Pokemon
them.
to reach their full potential. The most egregious example of this is Shedinja and its Wonder Guard ability, which is extremely powerful, so much so that it offsets its maximum of 1 HP. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but let's talk about moves. All moves are classified as either physical, special, or status. Physical moves interact with the physical stats, special moves interact with the special stats, and status moves typically don't do damage, though there are some exceptions. Most Pokemon want a mix of status moves and then either physical or special attacks. There are a few Pokemon who will use all three, such as Mega Salamence, but this is the exception rather than the rule. I told you earlier that Pokemon move in the order of their speed stats, but that there are some exceptions. The biggest exception is priority. If a move has +1 priority, it will move before every move with +0 and below priority first, even if the user is very slow. So an Azumarill that uses Aqua Jet, which has speed priority +1, will move before a Deoxys speed using Psychic, even though Deoxys speed is way faster. Some moves also have negative priority. The most famous example is Trick Room. The moves like Roar and Whirlwind also have negative priority. You can check the priority of moves in Pokemon
I didn't know
Champion,
that.
So if you're ever confused as to why your Pokemon
About,
moved
like,
later
Whirlwind,
or earlier than you
at
expected,
least.
the first thing you should check is the priority of the move that you used. Some moves inflict status conditions. Status conditions are debuffs that you primarily want to inflict on your opponents. Poison is the simplest, it does damage over time. Poison will always do 1/8 of the target's HP unless they are badly poisoned, in which case it starts at 1/16 and increases by 1/16 every single turn the Pokemon remains on the field until they switch out. The burn condition also deals damage over time, though it only does 1/16 at a time. The benefit of burn is that if a Pokemon is burnt, all physical moves that they use will be cut in power by 50%, which is a huge reduction. Okay, here's the first big change. Paralysis has gone from a 25% chance or
Okay,
1
so
in
maybe
4
use
chance to
Will-O-Wisp
have a
on
Pokemon
physical
attack
attackers, huh?
to a 1 in 8 chance. If a Pokemon is paralyzed, its speed will get cut to 50% of what it was before, so a 200 speed Pokemon paralyzed will be effectively at 100 speed, and they will have, as of Pokemon Champions, a 1 in 8 chance to not move, which is frankly not that big. Sleep is probably the most common status condition in the official competitive format. A Pokemon that's asleep is unable to use any moves except for the move Sleep Talk. The way that sleep now works is that after your Pokemon is put to sleep, the first time they try to attack afterwards, they have a 100% chance of staying asleep. The second turn, you have a 1 in 3 chance to wake up. The main change in Champions is that now on the third turn, you are guaranteed to wake up. So if your Pokemon has already slept for 2 turns, it is guaranteed to wake up on the third. The last status condition is Freeze. Freeze cannot be inflicted except as a secondary effect, unlike the other status conditions, which can all be inflicted via a move. If a Pokemon is frozen, it will be unable to move for the rest of the battle unless it thaws out. Each turn a Pokemon is frozen, it now has a 25% chance to thaw, though certain Pokemon can use moves while frozen that will thaw them out automatically, and if a frozen Pokemon is hit with a fire move, that will also thaw them. Sometimes players will attack their own Pokemon in order to thaw them out. The last thing about moves are the different features of them. Each move has a base power, ranging from between 0 to, I think, 250 is the maximum for any non-special moves. Most moves will sit somewhere in the 70 to 120 range, though of course there are moves outside of that. The higher the base power of a move, the more damage you can expect it to deal. Moves that are stronger typically have reduced accuracy. Accuracy of a move ranges from 30% to 100%. If your move is less than 100% accurate, it may miss on occasion. The last feature of moves is their power point, or PP for short. Your power points are how many times you're allowed to use a move in each battle. These will automatically be replenished, as well as all of your Pokemon's health and any status conditions cured at the end of each battle. Okay, so now that we've talked about the basics, let's talk about how to actually battle. If you want to play against other people, the first thing you need is a team of 6 Pokemon. You also don't need to build your team yourself. You can use something that in Pokemon Champions is called a replica team. Replica teams are the modern version of rental teams, where you can use another player's 6 Pokemon and all of the sets and details about them, although you won't be able to make any changes. Once you have your team of 6, it's time to battle. The first stage of every battle is called Team Preview. Team Preview is the minute-and-a-half long section before a battle begins, where you get to see which 6 Pokemon your opponent has, and then choose which 4 of your 6 Pokemon you want to bring to the match. The first 2 Pokemon you pick are your leads. Your leads are really important, so make sure you choose them with intention. You'll pick your Pokemon based on what Pokemon your opponent has. If your opponent has a ton of Fire-type Pokemon, maybe you won't be bringing your Grass types. Team Preview is a really complicated stage of the battle, even though it seems like it should be simple. If you're new to the game, you'll probably find it a little overwhelming at first. Just keep playing and I promise it'll get easier. Also, both VGC Guide and the course have dedicated guides to Team Preview if you want to learn more. Some of you are watching this and you have a background in single battles, so something you may be wondering is how different are double battles? Double battles are still Pokemon.
Just hit
If you're
hard.
comfortable with single battles, they'll likely feel more similar than different. However, don't let this fool you. There are some very meaningful differences. Double battles are much more complex on any given turn. I'm not making a statement about the overall complexity of single versus double battles, but on any given turn, a double battle has way more options. Double battles tend to be way faster than single battles. In fact, it's unusual for a double battle to go longer than 15 turns, and most of my games are between 8 and 12, probably closer to 8 to 10 to be honest. Battles going faster is overall pretty nice, but it also means that each individual turn matters quite a lot. Making a single mistake can put you pretty far behind, although you're unlikely to lose the game in one single turn unless you've really done something very egregious, which I definitely have. Another quirk of double battles is that many of the best moves are not moves that are very good in single battles. Moves like Fake Out, Protect, Helping Hand, and Follow Me are some of the best and most staple options in double battles. These moves are almost never used in single battles or on a playthrough, unless you're the AI Mine and about to get wiped off the face of the earth by Kyogre Water Spout in Generation 3. The final quirk of double battles that I want to touch on right now is what we call the spread reduction. Basically, some moves can hit both of your opponent's Pokemon, moves like Earthquake and Surf, for example. These moves actually also hit your partner Pokemon. Some hit only your opponent, some hit both your opponent and your partner. To make sure that these moves are balanced, in double battles they receive a spread damage reduction. They're reduced to 75% of their original power, so the 100 base power Earthquake is actually only 75 base power when it targets multiple Pokemon on the field. If you're
Okay.
ever wondering why your moves aren't doing as much damage as they should, it may be
I didn't
because
know
of the
that.
spread damage reduction. Tournament sets in the official double battles are played in best of 3, but if you're playing on the ladder, those will be best of 1. Tournament sets are also played using something called Open Team Sheet, where you're given information about your opponent's team prior to the match, but on the ladder you'll be playing in Closed Team Sheet, where you can only see their 6 Pokemon and none of the details about their moves, abilities, or items. Now that we covered the basics of battling, let's talk about the basics of team building. First, we gotta talk about the rules. Each team can have 6 Pokemon. Pokemon are not allowed to share a Pokedex number with any other Pokemon in the party. So you're not allowed to have 6 Mewtwo's. Sorry, Scott. The species clause applies to Pokedex numbers, so you can't have Rotom Frost and Rotom Heat, or Alolan Ninetales and Kanto Ninetales. If 2 Pokemon have different Pokedex numbers, like Tentacruel and
sucks.
Toadscruel, you can have both of them on the same
I
team.
don't want to do that,
Though it's
but I
pretty
feel
rare that
like
this is
I
good.
should.
I can't think of any example of a time when this is good. As I mentioned earlier, the Pokemon that are legal in a format are always changing. Sometimes you'll be allowed to use super strong, normally banned legendary Pokemon. Sometimes you won't even be able to use your favorite starter Pokemon. You'll always be able to find lists of legal Pokemon online, and you can also check teams in game by trying to go on the ladder and seeing if it will actually, let you do it. One thing I want to note about team building: it's optional. If you don't like it, you do not have to do it. It is totally acceptable to take a team that somebody else built and use it for yourself. It's not stealing, it is encouraged. We want people playing the game. I love team building, I personally find it fun, so I look forward to doing it. But if it's not your cup of tea, don't sweat it. Generally, when players are starting out, I recommend that they use other people's teams first, because you want to get a feel of how battles actually go before you start trying to build your teams,
okay.
so you know what to look for in your team.
I don't know about the
That being
rental
said, if you
things.
really
Maybe
love
I
team
should
building,
try
don't let it
that.
stop you. Those are just my general recommendations.
Let's get a
If you
feel
do want to
for.
team build, the single most important rule is to do things with intent. Don't just put a Pokemon on a team because you heard from your friend that it's strong. Make sure you understand what the Pokemon you're putting on your team actually do. Incineroar is widely considered to be the best Pokemon of all time. Incineroar uses moves like Fake Out and Parting Shot. But this is what Incineroar does. It's not why Incineroar is good. Being able to articulate to yourself why a Pokemon is strong and why a Pokemon's tools are desirable is important to bringing out their full potential. Okay, so if you want to build your own Pokemon teams, let's cover some of the broad strokes. Let's start by talking about synergy. Synergy basically means how well Pokemon on your team work together. The classic example is Fire, Water, and Grass types all have good synergy with each other. You want the Pokemon on your team to have some form of synergy with each other. This doesn't necessarily have to be in the type chart. For example, in Scarlet and Violet, Indeedee Female and Hatterene had synergy, because even though they're both Psychic types, Indeedee has the ability Psychic Surge, which sets up the Psychic Terrain, which powers up Hatterene's Expanding Force attack. These Pokemon have synergy together even though they don't have synergistic typings. Some Pokemon have synergies just based on their moves. A Pokemon with the move Fake Out has synergy with a Pokemon that wants to set itself up to make itself stronger, because Fake Out can stop your opponent from moving for a turn, and you can use that turn to get stronger. Typings are often the most obvious form of synergy. In addition to the Fire, Water, Grass core, we also have the Fairy, Dragon, Steel core, which back in the day was called the Fantasy core, though I haven't heard that term in a while. Pokemon don't need to be in set of 3 to have synergy either. Flying types and electric types also have decent synergy. There's also something called anti-synergy, where your Pokemon actively get in the way of one another. An obvious example would be to have the Pokemon Torkoal and Pelipper on the same team, as Torkoal sets up the sun and Pelipper sets up the rain, and these weathers cancel each other out. That being said, you can still succeed if you have anti-synergy on your team. In general, it's good to avoid, but it's not the end-all be-all. One of the most important things to consider when team building is the metagame. In competitive Pokemon, it's often used to describe the strategies that players are currently using. No matter how many Pokemon are legal, players will always gravitate towards teams that they perceive are strong. While the list of legal Pokemon for a format will not change, the compositions that players use will. Understanding what's popular right now is really important when picking your starting point for a team. If rain teams are really popular, you might want to consider Pokemon like Gastrodon with the Storm Drain ability. Or maybe a Pokemon that has the move Sunny Day and can move before your opponent attacks. Understanding what the most popular teams are is really important. If you build a team and it can't beat the most popular team, you may have made a mistake. The general rule is that the earlier on in a format you are, the harder it is to get a sense for the metagame. The longer a format has been out, the more things tend to stabilize and you can get a better idea of what is actually perceived to be strong. There are some online tools that are basically stat aggregators that can give you a general sense of what people are using, though they will never tell the full picture. When you're picking Pokemon for your team, it's important to consider what role they fill. A role basically just means what the Pokemon is on the team to do. Most Pokemon will fall into either a damaging role or a supportive role. Is it here to knock out your opponent's Pokemon, or is it here to help your other Pokemon knock out their Pokemon? There are, of course, some Pokemon that are hybrid. Even Pokemon that are supportive can still do damage. Don't let a Pokemon's ability to do damage confuse you about their role. The most blatant example is Incineroar. Incineroar is so strong because it is such a good supporting Pokemon. However, it also can do decent damage thanks to its good base attack stat and high base power moves of Flare Blitz and, well, it used to be Knockoff, not so much anymore. But even though Incineroar can do damage in the right circumstances, it's still a support Pokemon. It's still here to support its partners. Picking the right support Pokemon for your offensive Pokemon is difficult, but really important to bringing out their full potential. Not every offensive Pokemon benefits from Incineroar. Some prefer a redirecting Pokemon like Amoonguss or Jumpluff or Ogerpon. Generally, the balance that I recommend is 4 offensive Pokemon to 2 support Pokemon. This way, even if 2 of your offensive Pokemon are bad in a matchup, you still have 2 other ways to do damage. Anything less, and you may struggle to actually knock out your opponent's Pokemon. The exception to this is when legendary restricted Pokemon are legal, but that's not what this video is about, and I'm not getting into it. Okay, here's one of the big ones. We have to talk about training. Okay, we mentioned earlier base stats, and a Pokemon's actual stat is its base stat plus 20, except for HP, which is plus 75. But then you can train your Pokemon even further. In Pokemon Champions, you're given 66 extra stat points that you can distribute among your Pokemon stats. Every one of these 66 points that you put into a stat raises that stat by 1. You can put a maximum of 32 points in any given stat. On top of this, you also have access to Natures. Natures raise one of your Pokemon stats by 10% and lower another one by 10%. The general best practice is you want your Nature to raise your highest stat, though there are exceptions to this, and you want it to lower whichever attacking stat you're not using. So physical attackers use a minus special attack nature, and special attack users use a minus attack nature. There isn't an objectively correct way to train a Pokemon. My general tips are you want to think about doing one of 2 things. You either want your training to accentuate a Pokemon's strengths. So for a fast and frail Pokemon like Infernape, you want to just max out its speed and its attack, because that's what it's already good at. The other option with training a Pokemon's stats are to compensate for a weakness. So in our Infernape example, maybe you'd prefer to use a bulkier Infernape. Most of the time, especially when you're starting out, I recommend emphasizing a Pokemon's strengths. You can get a lot of mileage by covering for weaknesses as well, but it's harder to know which Pokemon this is good on. Like bulking up your Infernape, it's probably not very good, is my honest opinion, though some Pokemon can really benefit from subverting expectations. If you're not sure which stats to maximize, the general rule is if your Pokemon is offensive, just max out whichever attacking stat they're using and their speed, and if they're defensive, always max out their HP, and then you can either split the bulk between the defenses, or if you want to actually do damage, you can put some points there too. It's fine to do this kind of haphazardly, especially when you're starting out. The important thing is to just take note of when your Pokemon doesn't feel like it's being used to its full potential, so you can make adjustments. When you become very comfortable with the game, you may eventually train your Pokemon with specific goals in mind. For example, maybe you want your Infernape to outspeed Charizard, or maybe you want it to survive Dragonite Draco Meteor, or maybe you want to try and KO Incineroar with close combat. Top players choose their Pokemon stats based on the Pokemon they want to beat, but when you're starting out, you don't need to worry about that, in my opinion. Some of you watching this want to use your favorite Pokemon. You're the #1 Barbaracle fan, you're the #1 Mothim fan, right? And some of these Pokemon are not very good. However, Pokemon is a game where you don't need to always do the most optimal thing if you want to win. Plenty of players have seen success, myself included, by using Pokemon that were not considered to be as strong because we were able to bring out their unique strengths and also take advantage of the surprise factor. If you have a Pokemon that you really want to use, you should understand what your Pokemon's strengths are. Figuring out which of the popular Pokemon your favorite Pokemon is strong against will help you pick the right moves, stats, and item to take them down. This is easier with some Pokemon than others. If your favorite Pokemon is Incineroar, congratulations, you won the lottery. If it's Burmy, reverse congratulations. Burmy has like 4 moves. Wormadam's not much better though, sorry Burmy. If your favorite Pokemon is like Altaria, maybe your best bet is to use it when weather-related strategies are really popular because Altaria gets the ability Cloud9, which can shut down weather. If your goal is to be the world champion, you may not be able to use your favorite Pokemon, but if your goal is to, have fun like a normal person, then don't let anybody tell you that you can't use your favorites. Just like make sure you temper your expectations depending on how good your favorite is. Okay, so you made it through this whole video, and now you're thinking to yourself, man, this sounds pretty good. I think I want to compete. I think I want to enter tournaments. Well, the good news is you can. Congratulations, there's a circuit. There are real life tournaments and online tournaments. The Pokemon Company International Circuit has events in North America, Europe, Latin America, and Oceania. If you're outside of these zones, there's a link in the description to help you find events. Also, these regions only cover the Pokemon Company Internationals circuit. The Pokemon Company (Japan) has its own thing that they use to qualify players for the World Championships. Korea has its own thing. There's a couple other ones as well. But if you're in one of the regions that I mentioned and you go to a sanctioned event, if you do well enough, you will be awarded something called championship points. This is the currency used to qualify for the World Championships. The top championship point earners in each region will also receive a stipend if they attend major events, and the stipend is normally more than you would need to go to the tournament in the first place. Even if you're not aiming for the World Championships, there are other benefits as well. Last season, everyone who earned above a bar of championship points received a special Pokemon trading card promo. These were called Ace Trainer rewards, I believe. The lowest level of tournaments are called locals. There are 2 levels of local events called League Challenges and League Cups. These are lower stake events in your local community, which are a great opportunity to meet new people. League Challenges can be held every month, but League Cups can only be held every 3 months. League Cups give more points. Many stores will run their monthly challenge on the same day as their quarterly cup. If you want to find a local event near you, I've included links to the event locator in the description of this video. The first of the major events is called Regionals. These are held frequently around the world, and most countries should have at least one each season. These are large events, often approaching almost 1,000 players. They take place over 2 days, and if you do well, they award a large amount of championship points. The penultimate level of official tournament are the International Championships. There are only 3 of these across the entire world each season. They're held in Latin America, Europe, and North America. These are huge tournaments. They award the most championship points out of any event, and they're also a great event to spectate. These are the first level of tournament that feel like a Pokemon convention as well as just a tournament. And the final tournament doesn't award any championship points because it is the Pokemon World Championships. This is the only Pokemon tournament where you need an invite to compete. It takes place at the end of the season in August. If you live in a region with championship points, you qualify by being one of the top earners of championship points over the course of the season. At the end of this weekend, the Pokemon World Champion is decided. It is the most fun event of the year to spectate by a wide margin. If you're a new player getting into the circuit with Pokemon Champions, my recommendation for you is to not focus on qualifying for Worlds. Not because I think you can't do it. You're very special. You can do it. But Pokemon is a game where it is very difficult to win, and it's not always clear why you lose, and sometimes you will lose because of bad luck. In my experience, players who focus on improving and actually enjoying the game tend to perform better than players who set really concrete, hard goals for themselves. You know what's best for you. This is just my general advice. All the tournaments we talked about so far take place in person, but there is one official type of event that you can play from the comfort of your home. These are called GCs, short for Grand Challenge or Global Challenge, depending on the regions that are participating. These are ladder-style tournaments where every player starts out with a ladder rank of 1500. Winning a game gets you points, losing a game loses you points, and you have a limited amount of points over the course of 3 days to try and climb as high as you can. Unlike every in-person event, these are best of 1 and closed team sheet as opposed to best of 3 and open team sheet. You will not be able to earn enough championship points to qualify for Worlds from only the Grand Challenges, but if you are trying to qualify for Worlds, they can be a big help. Championship points in the Grand Challenge are awarded by region, so even if you're 10th overall, you might be 4th in North America, so you'd get the championship points associated with top 4 in North America. There are also unofficial online tournaments that aren't part of the circuit but are still quite prestigious. The two main websites for these are Limitless and Victory Road. These don't award any championship points, but they will sometimes award prize money. And if you want practice in the game, these are some of the best ways to get it. They simulate the real life tournament experience, and you'll often play against strong opponents, and you can also do it from home, which is a big plus. Competing is a lot of fun, but it's also pretty stressful. If you're interested in getting into it, I recommend pacing yourself, don't burn out, focus on making friends, on having a good time. It sounds generic and it sounds kind of like everybody's a winner, but I feel qualified to give this advice because I've been playing for so long. I've seen a lot of people burn out. Don't forget that at the end of the day, this is a game and we do it because we enjoy it and because it's fun. And I think as long as you keep that in mind, you'll probably be okay. Okay, and that's pretty much it. In summary, competitive Pokemon is a fun and enriching and challenging.
Okay. We didn't learn too much from this. We learned some stuff. But, like, want to make a better team, more figure out the synergy aspect of it, I guess. I'll probably watch more off stream. I'm going to end it here. We will be back tomorrow. I'm going to a League Cup for TCG, so no stream tomorrow. We'll be playing with Festival Leads tomorrow at the Cup. Friday, Helldivers 2, if anyone wants to play Helldivers. And Saturday, no, I'm not doing anything Saturday. Sunday, Pokemon Leaf Green Elite Four. Yeah. Till then, adios, take care.